Welcome everyone. Glad to be back home. I've been in Japan for a few weeks, so I've been posting a little bit about that here and there on Instagram, on some of the other streams, getting in chats with some of the other folks who are interested in jazz collections or collecting, listening to jazz albums. And I've got actually quite a big. Where did I put it? It's already gone for a walk. It's gone for a walk. A big bag of albums of LPs that I bought in Japan, but I'm kind of slowly working my way through them. I probably bought about, I don't know, about 40. No, more like 30 LPs, which is kind of hard to do, right, when you're traveling that far. I live in Toronto, so it's a 12-hour flight. It's a pain carrying the bag. I don't know how people do it. Anyway, so I'm not going to talk about the albums that I bought in Japan because I'm kind of working my way through them one by one. I want to make some notes about what I'm hearing, what I liked, what were good buys, what's clean, what has a few pops, all that kind of fun stuff, right? So where I bought them. So I want to kind of prepare a little bit of a map like I did on one of my previous streams. So make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to describe to, well, you could do that too, but to subscribe to my channel. So I don't know, probably give me another week or two, and at the most, and I'll get that other video up. I think I'll probably do 2 videos, carve up all those LPs so the stream isn't too long. Okay, but today what I want to do is I want to just talk a little bit about impulse buying, and there's a shop, kind of downtown shop. I won't name the name. I talked about it before in another stream where I talk about some of the, kind of go through downtown Toronto and talk a little bit about some of the stores, but I don't need to get into that again. Look on my stream, you'll see that recorded video. But it's a good store to just go through, not the names of jazz artists, but just the letters, right? Just to go through and see what's in there. Often there's a lot of LPs that, well, of course, are on the cheaper side. Many of them don't have, they're not in plastic. They don't have covers, or at least the plastic covers, I should say. Most of them are fairly shaggy, but the vinyl tends to be still pretty good. They'll put out stuff that where the covers are kind of crappy, but when you take out the vinyl and you look at it, rarely do I see that they're putting out vinyl, the actual media, right? The plastic, the wax, all that. That's heavily scratched, or definitely not. That's unplayable. So now and again, I'll just go down and I'll do what I call like the impulse buy, right? I'll just kind of go through and the funny thing and just kind of buy some, like a handful of LPs, let's say under $20, or preferably under $15. That's Canadian dollars. So there's that. So that was kind of my goal today. The other thing which kind of made it interesting too is that my phone, when I was in Japan, was giving me a lot of problems. The battery, it's a crappy battery. I bought it from a reseller, yada yada yada. So I got myself into trouble because the battery was crappy, and everywhere I need to go, I was plugging in an external battery. Too much information, I know. So this morning I dropped off my my cell phone, and as you all know, those of you who like to collect and like to dig in record stores, you have to have your mobile phone with you. You have to have your cell phone with you, right? You've got to check Discogs, you gotta check the prices, you gotta check to make sure that you haven't bought the album before. You want to see if you're getting a good deal. You want to listen maybe to some tracks to see if you like it. Hold it up to your ear and kind of look like a goof. But no, I can't do that today. So I'm going in there and I'm blind, right? I've got nothing to help me out except for this kind of, hey, I'm going to do some impulse buys today. All right. So that's a very long-winded introduction. So let's go through. I just have four that I want to go through, and I haven't. A lot of these, when I say impulse buys, I'm also talking about artists and LPs that I really don't know. Like they're definitely not. Sorry about that. They're definitely not on my wish list. That's for sure. Um, Often, I don't think there's a single LP here that have listened to before, I've heard from before. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. I don't want to talk too much about prices. This is well under $10. It's a Prestige LP from 1970. Houston Person. What a so it's not a bad cover, but what a weird title, right? Houston Person's Person to Person exclamation point. Um, Houston's a tenor sax player. I don't know a lot about him. If you search him online, there's a lot of people who are kind of saying he's, one of the godfathers of acid jazz. Whatever. Okay. Maybe I need to dig down a little bit more into that. But what do we got here? So, what caught my eye was, of course, that it's a Prestige. It's not in great shape. You can probably see that, right? It's a little bit of a hole in the top. Actually, apart from the kind of the split seam there, the bottom is fine. The back looks pretty nice. A little bit of a ring wear there. It's from 1970, so it's actually not in bad shape. Wasn't in a plastic cover. But what caught my eye was a couple things. So, in addition to it being a Prestige recording, um, we've got here. Let me see if I can put it up there. Right there we go. We've got Houston Person on sax, Virgil Jones on trumpet, Sonny Phillips on organ. Don't really know him. Grant Green, of course, one of my favorites. Idris Muhammad on drums. I've got a few of his LPs from the early 70s. And Buddy Caldwell. Idris Muhammad's on a lot of LPs that today are sampled by hip hop artists. So Houston Person, whatever, Godfather of Acid Jazz. We got Idris Muhammad on here, and of course we got Grant Green, who in the early 1970s was really doing a lot of interesting funk albums. So boom. All right, this $7, and yes, we also have here Rudy Van Gelder is a producer. Excuse me, is a recorder. What was his actual title? He cut it. He mastered it. Let's have a look. Nice, not a trident. This is from the 70s, so it's a nice purple cover. Let me put that up there for those of you who like to look at the label. Not a cover, it's a label. And it's quite minty. It's in really quite a good shape. It's kind of one of those LPs that you pull out. It wasn't in a dollar bin, but again, it was $7. Whoa. And has this even been played? I'm going to say no. And the pièce de résistance here is that it's got Van Gelder stamps in the dead wax. So $7 Van Gelder stamped LP. Gave it a quick listen. Just for first couple tracks. It's an interesting kind of a Latin Cuban jazz, but a little bit more soulful, a little bit more funky. Again, this is 1970, and then Person comes in with a horn, with a sax, with a tenor sax, and just rocks it. And then it gets really interesting. It gets really funky. It gets a lot of fun. So that was a huge hit. Again, the only thing I knew were some of the names, Grant Green, of course, and Idris Muhammad, principally. Never heard of this guy before, and I love it. It's great. It's in great shape, and I'll be spinning that later this evening. So yeah, so that's person to person, person to person. All right, let's move on. Here's another album. I got this for $15. The cover again didn't have a plastic cover for it. It's Lee Konitz 1975 milestone album entitled Satori. A couple of some very familiar names there, to John Ed and Dave Holland, who I saw last year or 2 years ago now in Sweden. This is in great shape. Yeah, get for an LP that's in the stacks. Again, not split. It's got one of those great back covers, that they've kind of glued on. It's really hard to see, probably. That maybe you can see it a little bit. That they kind of glue on the paper, so you have to be quite careful with those. This is hang on, give me a second. I got a couple notes here. It's more of a free jazz LP. I really like it. It sounds beautiful. The solos are rich. They sound like they're having fun. They sound like they're having fun on this album. What else can I say about it? So recorded in the fall of '74. So there's a lot of those early '70s spiritual, I would say, almost spiritual free jazz influences. And it's again, yeah. So Milestone. This is, I believe, it's an OG copy. Here, there we go. Lee Konitz. Milestone. Actually, I'm lying. That's not an OG. It's because this one is distributed by Fantasy Records, and I think the OG copy is a straight up Milestone. So Fantasy, of course, bought out Milestone and quite a few other record companies. Shit, that was not good in the '70s. And so I think this was a reissue. Again, I paid 14 bucks for that album. Really enjoyed. Just quickly listened to the first couple tracks on it. Killer, really great. Very cheap. Don't own any other Lee Konitz. You see a lot of cheap Lee Konitz albums out there. Couldn't tell you too much about the fella, but loved it. Okay, what else? Where are we going now? All right. So that was from one store across the street, and popped into a store that's well known for in the DJ community, and often has a pretty good selection of jazz. How about that? I think I've always been a big fan of Cannonball Adderley. He's got a lot of titles, a lot to go through. He's played with a lot of great artists, musicians. He plays quite frequently, of course, with his brother, which Nat Adderley, which is the case with Them Dirty Blues. I believe this is a 1960. Yes, it is. It's a 1960 release by Riverside. This was a little bit more. How much did I pay for this? This was about $15 or $20, I think. They asked for this one. I think I talked them down. Anyway, so around that. So not a lot of money. The problem with it? I picked it up, and you can see already. Right, folks? There's tape all around it. There's tape here, there's tape here, and there's tape here. It's kind of like the kind of LPs that you see sometimes that come out of libraries or radio stations. It's actually not that bad. I don't know if it's split. I should kind of open it up. But anyway, let me kind of do a little. This is the equivalent of unboxing, but this is why I did at the record store. Take it out, and it's kind of like, holy shit, with it. Look at this. This thing is like disintegrating. Like really? What? like 20 bucks. Oh my, you got to be joking, right? Like, I took this out. I thought, what a waste of my time. I thought, and yeah, that's going in the dustbin. I just wanted to keep it to show everyone the kind of crap. Anyway, so all that to say, first impressions. Well, this is really crap LP, but this is an original Riverside. Sorry, let me put it over a little bit. There's your label, and it is, and there's a turntable in there in the record store. Um, so there you can see some of my pictures on the wall reflecting there. Anyway, um, it sounded, so there's turntable there. Put them up. Like, this is beautiful. It is clean, clean, clean. There wasn't a single noise. I dropped the needle on it, and I thought, holy shit, 1960 copy. This is an original copy, and it was silent, and it kills. So yeah, the cover, kind of a piece of shit. The inside sleeve, it's like one of those wax ones too, and they always disintegrate, right? It's kind of like, who came up with that idea? What a great find. Original Riverside. It sounds amazing, amazing, amazing. So you've got, yeah, I didn't even talk about who's on this album too. I haven't seen this one around too much actually, so that kind of caught my eye. I kind of looked past, it's like, okay, Cannonball Adderley. I'm always interested in looking and listening to his stuff. But then, of course, go to the back. Who do we got here? So of course, Nat Adderley, Bobby Timmons, well known cornet player, Barry Harris. On piano, Sam Jones, just an icon. On bass, Louis Hayes on drums. This was recorded in New York in February in 1916. Actually, also some tracks were recorded in Chicago in later in the spring and March of 1960 as well. So that's a fantastic buy. I'm super happy with that. I kind of thought, well, maybe if I see a nicer cover, I'll ditch it. But it's original copy. It wasn't expensive. It was incredibly inexpensive. So I pulled the trigger, so to speak, and got that one as well. All right. Now on to my last one. This is one that I've seen. The cover is it iconic? I feel like it's iconic. I think it's just a really fascinating cover. It's almost kind of a French animation or something. The Brothers, um, or otherwise known as Stan Getz and his Four Brothers. So I've seen this. I've seen this around. I'm not a huge Stan Getz fan. I feel like that kind of more cool jazz is just slightly too cheesy for me. I'm not a huge West Coast jazz fan, but it was, again, this was like $10 or something ridiculous. I this is one of those cases where you look at the cover and you think, I've seen that cover before. I don't know much about the LP. Of course, I know Stan Getz. Who else we got here? He's kind of, it's a compilation of tracks recorded in the late 40s. We got Zoot Sims, Al Cohn, Alan Eager, Drew Moore, so four other tenors. Walter Bishop, very well-known pianist. Gene Rami on bass. Charlie Perry, sorry about the reflection there, everyone, on drums. So fascinating. I'm not sure what it's going to sound like. This is the other reason why I picked this up. Again, it was like $10 or something like that. Is that it's an OJC copy. I think it's from 1982. Yeah, I looked it up. It's a 1982 reissue. And the OJCs that I've picked up over the last couple years, and the ones that I picked up many years before that, are killer. They're great. They sound really amazing for the price that you're paying. So again, don't know too much about it. Didn't get a chance to play it, but look at that cover. Look at all those dudes walking around saying, "Greg, why did you buy me?" Okay, that was a little creepy. Okay, everyone. So hit like, subscribe. Keep an eye out for my next video when I go through quite a few LPs that were on my wish list that of course cost a little bit more than but surprisingly not a lot more than these impulse cheap albums that I bought today here in Toronto. So make sure to subscribe, and we will see you soon to talk about some LPs that I bought in Japan. Okay, everyone, take care.